He controls hotels, contracts, and millions. She controls meetings, targets, and anyone who dares underestimate her. The problem? Neither of them can control their mouth when they're together. And when the situation demands they stop fighting and start matching, things get deliciously chaotic. The casino lights reflected off the champagne glass in Ava Henderson's hand as she surveyed the sprawling floor of the Mirage Hotel. 27 and finally free from family obligations for one glorious weekend, she'd convinced her two best friends that Las Vegas was exactly where they needed to celebrate her birthday. "You look like you're plotting something," her best friend Marcus teased, appearing beside her with two more glasses. "Should I be worried?" Ava grinned, accepting the drink. "When am I not plotting something?" What she wasn't plotting, however, was running into Ethan Carter. The universe apparently had a twisted sense of humor, because there he was, across the poker tables, looking criminally good in dark slacks and a white dress shirt with the sleeves rolled up to his elbows. Her stomach did an annoying flip that she absolutely refused to acknowledge. 8 years. 8 years of this ridiculous tension that everyone noticed except, apparently, the two of them. He'd been her older brother's best friend since high school, practically family. Except family members didn't make your pulse race when they walked into a room. Family members didn't have forearms that should be illegal in several states. "Oh no," Marcus muttered, following her gaze. "Please tell me that's not Ethan Carter," Ava finished, her voice carefully neutral. "What are the odds? In a city of millions. Astronomical. In a hotel his company owns. Pretty damn good. Right, the hotel chain. Because of course Ethan had built an empire by 34, turning his family's modest boutique hotel into a nationwide luxury brand. Overachiever. As if sensing her stare, Ethan looked up. Their eyes met across the casino floor, and even from this distance, Ava felt the impact like a physical touch. His expression shifted from surprise to something darker, more intense, before settling into that infuriating smirk she knew too well. He said something to his companions, two men she didn't recognize, and started making his way toward her. "I'm going to need more champagne for this," Ava muttered. "I'm going to need a front-row seat," Marcus countered, looking far too entertained. If this story is touching your heart, show your support. Leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and share it with your friends. Every action helps us keep bringing you new stories full of emotion. Ethan moved through the crowd with the easy confidence of a man who owned the building, which technically he did. His dark hair was slightly disheveled, like he'd been running his hands through it, and there was a hint of stubble on his jaw that made him look less CEO and more dangerously attractive stranger. Not that she was noticing. "Ava Henderson," he said when he reached her, his voice that low rumble that always made her spine tingle. "What brings you to my hotel?" "Your ego, apparently, since it takes up most of the building," she shot back automatically. His smile widened, and she hated how her heart raced at the sight. "Still as charming as ever, I see. Still as presumptuous. Maybe I'm here for the exceptional service and world-class amenities." "Maybe," he agreed, his gaze dropping to the red dress she'd chosen specifically because it made her feel confident and powerful. The way his eyes darkened suggested it was working a little too well. "Or maybe you heard I was in town and couldn't resist." Ava laughed, the sound coming out more breathless than she intended. "You wish, Carter." "Every night, Henderson." The air between them crackled with something electric. Marcus cleared his throat pointedly, reminding Ava they had an audience. "Right," she said, taking a fortifying sip of champagne. "What are you doing in Vegas anyway? Buying another hotel to add to your collection?" Something flickered in his expression. Was that guilt? Before it disappeared. "Business meeting. Closed a major deal today. Celebrating with clients." He gestured to the two men still waiting by the poker table. "You?" "Birthday celebration, 27 and fabulous." 27? His eyebrows rose. "When did you stop being 19? "Around the same time you stopped being my brother's annoying friend who ate all the good snacks. I'm still annoying, just better dressed." She couldn't argue with that. The man wore expensive clothes like they were made for him, which they probably were. Custom-tailored, perfectly fitted, emphasizing those broad shoulders that had filled out considerably since his college days. "Stop staring at his shoulders," she commanded herself. "Well, happy birthday," Ethan said, and there was something genuine in his tone that made her chest warm. 27 looks good on you. Thanks, she managed, hating the flutter in her stomach. 34 looks adequate on you. He laughed, a real laugh that transformed his whole face. Adequate. I'll take it. They stood there, neither quite willing to walk away, the noise of the casino fading into background static. His cologne, something woodsy and expensive, wrapped around her senses, making her want to step closer. Ava, one of her friends called from across the floor. We're doing shots. Duty calls, she said, finally breaking eye contact. Ava, he said, as she turned to leave. When she looked back, his expression was unreadable. It's good to see you. You too, Carter. She made it 3 steps before his voice stopped her again. Henderson? Try not to cause too much trouble tonight. She threw him a look over her shoulder, channeling every bit of confidence she possessed. Where's the fun in that? His answering grin was pure trouble. 3 hours later, Ava was pleasantly buzzed and winning at blackjack when Ethan appeared at the table next to hers. Not coincidence, the man was clearly stalking her. Can't stay away, she asked sweetly. You're at my hotel. Technically, you can't stay away from me. That ego really is astronomical. You keep mentioning my ego, starting to think you're obsessed. The dealer cleared her throat, waiting for Ava's decision. She hit, got a 20, and won the hand with a triumphant smile at Ethan. Lucky, he commented. Skilled, she corrected. As the night progressed, their groups merged naturally. Ethan's business associates turned out to be entertaining, and her friends were charming enough. But through it all, Ava was hyper-aware of every time Ethan's shoulder brushed hers, every shared glance, every electric moment of connection. This was dangerous. This was stupid. This was everything she'd been avoiding for 8 years. But when someone suggested hitting one of the famous Vegas wedding chapels as a joke, just for photos, just for laughs, and Ethan met her eyes with a challenge in his gaze, Ava made a decision that would change everything. I'm in, she said, lifting her chin. Unless Carter's too scared. His smile was slow and devastating. Henderson, I'm never scared. Famous last words. The neon sign of Chapel of Eternal Love flickered in garish pink and purple, casting strange shadows across the sidewalk where Ava stood, second-guessing every life choice that had led to this moment. It's just pictures, Marcus whispered in her ear. You don't actually have to go through with anything. Ava watched Ethan stride toward the chapel entrance with the same confidence he brought to boardroom negotiations. He'd removed his suit jacket sometime in the last hour, and the white shirt now clung to his frame in a way that should be illegal. When he reached the door, he turned back to look at her, one eyebrow raised in challenge. That eyebrow. That damn eyebrow that always made her want to prove him wrong. Come on, Henderson, he called. Don't tell me you're backing out already. Her competitive streak, the same one that had driven her to excel in business school, to prove herself at her father's company, to go toe-to-toe with Ethan Carter in every argument for 8 years, flared to life. Not a chance, Carter. The chapel interior was exactly what she'd expected. Tacky red velvet plastic flowers, and a man in a white rhinestone-studded jumpsuit who introduced himself as Elvis Baby, the King of Love. We're just here for photos, one of Ethan's friends explained. Already laughing at the absurdity, Elvis looked between Ava and Ethan with a knowing smile. Sure, baby. That's what they all say. What happened next would forever be a blur of tequila shots, laughter, and increasingly ridiculous dares. Ethan bet she wouldn't actually recite vows. She bet he wouldn't kiss her if Elvis told him to. The rings they'd bought from a gift shop as props suddenly felt too real on their fingers. Do you, Ethan Carter, take this beautiful young lady to be your lawfully wedded wife? Elvis crooned, his microphone picking up every word. Ethan looked at her, and something shifted in his expression. The playfulness faded, replaced by an intensity that made her breath catch. I do. Wait, this was just pretend. Just photos. And do you, Ava Henderson, take this handsome gentleman to be your lawfully wedded husband? She should say no. Should laugh it off, should remember that this was Ethan Carter, her brother's best friend, the man she'd spent 8 years alternating between wanting to kiss and wanting to murder. But he was looking at her with those dark eyes, and the tequila was warm in her veins, and suddenly it seemed like the most obvious thing in the world to say, I do. Elvis grinned. "Then by the power vested in me by the state of Nevada and the spirit of rock and roll, I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss the bride, baby." Ethan's hands came up to cup her face with a gentleness that contradicted the alcohol-fueled chaos of the moment. "Is this okay?" he murmured so quietly only she could hear. She should stop this, should remember all the reasons this was insane. Instead, she fisted her hands in his shirt and pulled him down to meet her halfway. The kiss was nothing like she'd imagined during those late nights, when she definitely wasn't fantasizing about Ethan Carter. It was better. His lips were soft but demanding, moving against hers with a skill that made her knees weak. When his tongue traced her bottom lip seeking entrance, she opened for him without hesitation. Someone whooped in the background. Someone else was definitely recording on their phone. But Ava couldn't bring herself to care, lost in the taste of expensive tequila and something uniquely Ethan, in the way his thumb stroked her cheekbone, in the barely audible groan when she pressed closer. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Elvis was grinning like he'd just witnessed the greatest love story ever told. "Now that's what I call chemistry, baby." The next hour was a blur, signing papers that they were too drunk to read properly. More photos with Elvis making inappropriate jokes, their friends alternating between laughter and shock as the reality of what they'd done started to sink in. "We actually did it," Ava whispered as they stumbled out of the chapel into the cool desert night. "We got married." Ethan looked down at the cheap ring on his finger, then at the matching one on hers. "Apparently so, Mrs. Carter." She laughed, the sound slightly hysterical. "Oh my God, my brothers are going to kill you. Only if they catch me." He swayed slightly, and she reached out to steady him, her hand landing on his chest. His heart was racing under her palm. "Your place or mine?" The question hung between them, loaded with possibilities that her alcohol-soaked brain couldn't fully process. "Separate corners," Marcus announced, appearing from nowhere to play chaperone, "before you two do something else monumentally stupid." But as Ava made her way back to her hotel room, a different hotel, thank God, because she needed space from Ethan Carter and his stupid perfect face, she couldn't stop touching the ring on her finger. Married. She was married to Ethan Carter. The thought should terrify her. Instead, it sent a thrill down her spine that had nothing to do with alcohol and everything to do with 8 years of unresolved tension finally having an excuse to explode. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number that could only be him. "Sleep well, wife." She stared at the message for a long moment before typing back, "Don't tell me what to do, husband." His response came immediately. "Wouldn't dream of it. For though I seem to remember you saying I do to that earlier. Despite everything, the insanity of the situation, the impending disaster when their families found out, the fact that she'd just married her brother's best friend while drunk in Vegas, Ava smiled. "Good night, Ethan." "Good night, Ava." She fell asleep with the ring still on her finger and a smile on her face, blissfully unaware that in a few hours she'd wake up to a nightmare of viral videos, family phone calls, and the horrifying realization that she was legally married to the one man she'd sworn she'd never fall for. But that was tomorrow's problem. Tonight, she was Ava Carter, and the thought didn't terrify her nearly as much as it should. Ava woke to the sound of her phone vibrating aggressively against the nightstand. Her head pounded with the fury of 1,000 hangovers, her mouth tasted like regret and tequila, and there was something cold and metallic digging into her ring finger. Ring finger. Her eyes flew open. The cheap wedding band caught the morning light streaming through the hotel curtains, sending a shard of panic straight through her chest. For one desperate moment she considered that it might have been a dream. A very vivid, very detailed, very... Her phone buzzed again, and again, and again. With a groan that came from her soul, Ava grabbed the device, squinting at the brightness. 73 missed calls, 142 text messages. Her social media notifications had stopped counting at 999. What the... The first message was from her oldest brother, Tyler. "Call me now." The second was from her middle brother, Nolan. "Please tell me this is photoshopped." The third was from her baby brother. Well, 24 wasn't exactly a baby, but still. "Oh, sis, you're married? To Ethan? This is the best day of my life." Her father's message simply read, "My office, Monday, 8 a.m. But it was Marcus's message that made her stomach drop. "Babe, you're trending. Check Twitter. Also, I'm so sorry. With trembling fingers, Ava opened Twitter. The first post had been retweeted 50,000 times. It was a video, crystal clear despite the dim chapel lighting, of her and Ethan reciting vows. But it was the kiss that had gone viral, the way he'd cupped her face, the way she'd fisted his shirt, the unmistakable chemistry that radiated from the screen. Billionaire hotel heir marries business mogul's daughter in Vegas chapel, read one headline. When you're so rich, even your drunken mistakes are goals, read another. This kiss, though, accompanied a gif of their kiss, looped endlessly. Ava was going to be sick. Her phone rang. Ethan's name flashed across the screen. Tell me you're seeing this, she answered without preamble. I'm looking at it right now. His voice was rough with sleep and panic. Ava, we have a problem. You think? My phone hasn't stopped ringing. My mother called 3 times. Your father called twice. My business partners are demanding a meeting, and there's a reporter camped outside my hotel room. Ava pressed her palm against her forehead. This can't be happening. Unfortunately, Mrs. Carter, it very much is happening. Despite everything, heat flushed through her at the way he said, Mrs. Carter. She blamed the hangover. We need to fix this. Annulment. Divorce. Whatever makes this go away. Agreed, but he sounded oddly hesitant. Although a sharp knock interrupted him. Ava could hear it through the phone and echoing from somewhere down her hallway. Are you outside my room? She asked. I needed to see you in person. This is too big for phone calls. Ava looked down at herself. Rumpled red dress from last night. Mascara probably smeared everywhere. Hair that could house a family of birds. Perfect. Give me 5 minutes. Ava. 5 minutes, Carter. She hung up and stumbled to the bathroom. A quick face wash removed most of the makeup disaster. She changed into the spare clothes she'd packed, leggings and an oversized sweater, and pulled her hair into something resembling a ponytail. When she opened the door, Ethan looked about as wrecked as she felt. His shirt was wrinkled, his hair stood up in several directions, and there were shadows under his eyes. Somehow he still looked unfairly attractive. You look terrible, she said. You look beautiful. The compliment, delivered in that rough morning voice, caught her off guard. She stepped aside to let him in before she did something stupid like believe him. Another knock sounded before she could close the door. A young man in an impeccably tailored suit stood there, holding a tray with coffee and what looked like legal documents. Mr. Carter, Miss Henderson, he said with a slight bow. I'm James, Mr. Carter's personal assistant. I took the liberty of bringing coffee, aspirin, and several potential solutions to your current predicament. Ethan rubbed his face. James, how did you even know where we were? Sir, I'm your assistant. It's my job to know where you are, what you're doing, and how to fix it when you inevitably do something requiring damage control. James swept into the room, setting down the tray with practiced efficiency, though I must say this particular situation is unprecedented even for you. Gee, thanks, Ava muttered, reaching for the coffee like a lifeline. James pulled out a tablet, swiping through what appeared to be a detailed presentation. I've analyzed the social media trends, cross-referenced with potential business impacts, and consulted with the PR team. We have 3 options. I'm listening, Ethan said, dropping onto the couch. Option 1, immediate annulment citing intoxication and diminished capacity. Pros, quick resolution. Cons, humiliating for both parties. Makes you look irresponsible, and given the video evidence of mutual enthusiasm, might not hold up legally anyway. Ava winced. The video had definitely shown enthusiasm. Option 2, quiet divorce after a brief marriage. Pros, more dignified. Cons, drawn-out process, continued media attention, and Miss Henderson's father has already called 3 lawyers. He what? Ava choked on her coffee. Option 3, James continued smoothly, is admittedly unconventional. You lean into it. Present this as a whirlwind romance that culminated in a spontaneous but genuine marriage. Maintain the facade for several months until the media attention dies down, then quietly separate citing irreconcilable differences, or if you prefer, simply continue the marriage. That's insane, Ava said. That could work, Ethan said at the same time. They looked at each other. You can't be serious, Ava continued. Fake a marriage, that's something out of a bad rom-com. It's either that or admit we got drunk and made a massive mistake on camera for the entire internet to see, Ethan countered. Which looks better for your position at your father's company? Impulsive daughter who got wasted and married the first guy she saw? Or successful woman who followed her heart? That stung because he was right. She'd worked too hard to prove she deserved her position to throw it away now. Think about it, James added. The narrative is already writing itself. Childhood friends who grew into lovers, years of hidden feelings, one magical night in Vegas where inhibitions fell and true feelings emerged. It's romantic. It's believable given the chemistry evident in that video, and it buys you both time to figure out an exit strategy that doesn't involve public humiliation. Ava looked at Ethan. Really looked at him. 8 years of tension, 8 years of arguments that were really just foreplay. 8 years of pretending she didn't notice the way her heart raced when he walked into a room. Maybe James was right. Maybe the chemistry was too obvious to deny. How would this even work? She asked carefully. You'd need to live together, James said. At least part-time. Enough to sell the story. Public appearances as a couple. Social media posts. Convince your families that this was real. My brothers will never believe it, Ava said. Your brothers called me practically family for years, Ethan pointed out. It's not that much of a stretch. It's completely insane. Completely, he agreed, but it might be our best option. Ava closed her eyes, weighing her choices. All of them were terrible. But at least this option, this insane, ridiculous option, gave them some control over the narrative. And if she was being honest with herself, the thought of living with Ethan Carter, even temporarily, even as a complete facade, sent a thrill through her that had nothing to do with damage control. Fine, she said, opening her eyes, but we need rules, boundaries, an exit strategy. Ethan's smile was slow and dangerous. Whatever you need, wife. Stop calling me that. Why? It's legally accurate. Because it makes this feel too real. His eyes darkened. Ava, I hate to break it to you, but this is real. We're really married. The question is what we do about it. James cleared his throat. I'll draft an agreement outlining the terms of your arrangement. In the meantime, I suggest you both call your families before they send search parties. Ava looked at her phone, at the endless notifications, at the picture of her and Ethan kissing that was currently being shared across the internet. This is going to be a disaster, she muttered. Probably, Ethan agreed. But at least we'll be disasters together. And despite everything, Ava found herself smiling. Ethan's penthouse apartment was exactly what Ava had imagined. Minimalist to the point of sterility, decorated in shades of grey and white, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. It looked like something out of an architecture magazine. Beautiful, expensive, and completely devoid of personality. Where's all your stuff? She asked, standing in the middle of the vast living room with her suitcases. Ethan looked around as if seeing the space for the first time. What stuff? You know, personal items, photos, books. Evidence that a human actually lives here. I have books. He pointed to a shelf that held exactly 12 volumes, all business-related, organized by height. Organized by size, Ava said flatly. You organized your books by size, not by author or genre or literally any other logical system. It looks better that way. It looks like a psychopath lives here. His eyes narrowed. You've been in my home for 3 minutes, and you're already criticizing my organizational system. I'm going to be living here for the foreseeable future. I have opinions. God help me, he muttered, running a hand through his hair. Your room is down the hall. Second door on the left. My room? She raised an eyebrow. Not our room? What happened to selling this relationship? The look he gave her was pure heat. Henderson, if we share a bedroom, this fake marriage is going to become very real very quickly. And somehow I don't think you're ready for that. Her stomach flipped. Presumptuous. Honest. He stepped closer, and she caught that scent again. The cologne that was becoming dangerously familiar. Besides, we need to maintain some boundaries if this is going to work. Right. Boundaries. She grabbed her suitcase handles. Second door on the left. Unless you'd prefer to reconsider the sleeping arrangements. The challenge in his voice made her want to take him up on it, just to prove she could handle it. Instead, she wheeled her suitcases down the hall with as much dignity as she could muster. The guest room was as impersonal as the rest of the apartment. White walls, grey bedding, A single abstract painting that probably cost more than her car. At least it had a window. Ava started unpacking, trying not to think about Ethan in the next room, probably organizing his clothes by color or some other ridiculous system. Her phone buzzed. Marcus. How's domestic life with Mr. Perfect? She typed back, his apartment looks like a hotel room. I don't think he's ever actually lived here. Maybe he's been waiting for you to make it a home. Stop being romantic. This is a business arrangement. Keep telling yourself that, babe. Ava tossed the phone onto the bed and continued unpacking. She'd just hung up her last dress when she heard a crash from the kitchen, followed by creative cursing. She found Ethan glaring at an espresso machine that looked complicated enough to require an engineering degree. Problem? She asked sweetly. This damn thing won't work. Did you read the manual? I don't need a manual. I have a master's degree from Yale. Right, because Yale definitely prepared you for Italian coffee machines. She nudged him aside and examined the device. When's the last time you actually used this? I don't. I have coffee delivered every morning. Of course you do. She found the problem. He'd forgotten to add water and fixed it within seconds. There. Crisis averted. He stared at her. How did you... I actually use my kitchen appliances. Revolutionary concept, I know. Smart ass. You married me for my winning personality. Something flickered in his expression. Among other things. The air thickened. They were standing close, too close in the narrow kitchen. She could see the flecks of gold in his dark eyes, the sharp line of his jaw, the way his pulse jumped in his throat. The espresso machine beeped, breaking the moment. Ava grabbed her phone, needing distance. I need to call my father. Face the music. Want moral support? From you? The cause of all my problems? I'm also the solution to all your problems, he pointed out. Or did you forget we're supposed to be madly in love? Right. Madly in love. She took a breath. Okay, let's practice. Practice what? Being a couple. If we're going to convince anyone, we need to be convincing. Ethan's smile was slow and dangerous. I can be very convincing. Stop looking at me like that. Like what? Like you're thinking inappropriate thoughts. We're married. Technically, no thoughts are inappropriate anymore. Ethan, Ava. He mimicked her tone perfectly. If we're doing this, we need to sell it, which means being comfortable with each other, touching, acting like we actually enjoy each other's company. That's going to require some serious acting skills. Please. You've wanted me since you were 19. She gaped at him. I have not. You have. Just like I've wanted you. He said it so casually, like he was commenting on the weather. The difference is, I'm willing to admit it. You're delusional. I'm observant. He stepped closer. I notice when you bite your lip when you're thinking about me. When your pupils dilate when I'm near. When your breath catches if I stand too close. Like it was catching right now. This is just physical, she managed. Obviously, which is why living together is going to be very interesting. Her phone rang, saving her from having to respond. Her father's name flashed across the screen. Ethan gestured for her to answer, but instead of leaving to give her privacy, he moved behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist and resting his chin on her shoulder. What are you doing? She hissed. Practice, he murmured against her ear. Answer the phone, wife. With shaking hands, she accepted the call. Hi, Dad. Ava Marie Henderson. Her father's voice was a mix of confusion and concern. Please explain to me how you ended up married in Las Vegas. Ava could feel Ethan's warmth against her back, his breath on her neck. It was incredibly distracting. It's a long story. I have time. She took a breath, feeling Ethan's arms tighten encouragingly. We've been seeing each other. Quietly. We didn't want to tell anyone until we were sure, especially with Ethan being so close to Tyler and Nolan. But in Vegas, everything just felt right and we couldn't wait anymore. The lie came easier than it should have. You and Ethan Carter, her father said slowly. How long? A few months, Ethan said, loud enough for the phone to pick up. I'm sorry we didn't tell you sooner, sir, but I love your daughter. Ava's heart stuttered. The way he said it, so convincing, so sure, made her almost believe it herself. You love her, her father repeated. More than anything, Ethan said, and pressed a kiss to her temple that felt entirely too real. There was a long pause. Then, if you hurt her, Carter, I don't care how many hotels you own, I will destroy you. Understood, sir. Ava, we need to talk, face to face. I know, I'll come by this week. After a few more tense exchanges, her father hung up. Ava sagged against Ethan, suddenly exhausted. That went better than expected, he murmured. You told my father you love me. I sold the story, that's what we agreed on. Right, the story. She tried to step away, but his arms didn't loosen. You can let go now, call's over. Maybe I don't want to. She turned in his arms, a mistake that put them face to face, mere inches apart. Ethan, we should set some ground rules, he said, his voice lower now, about this arrangement. Okay. Rule 1, separate bedrooms. Agreed. Rule 2, no actual feelings. That stung more than it should. Obviously. Rule 3, we can call this off at any time. Fine. Rule 4, no flirting unless people are watching. His smile was wicked. But where's the fun in that? This isn't supposed to be fun. It's damage control. Who says it can't be both? Before she could respond, his phone rang. He reluctantly released her to answer it. Ava retreated to her room, her heart racing, her skin still tingling where he'd touched her. This was going to be harder than she thought, not because living with Ethan would be difficult, though his organizational obsessions were already driving her crazy, but because pretending to be in love with him wasn't going to require any acting at all. And that terrified her more than anything. Ava discovered Ethan's true psychopathic tendencies on day 3 of cohabitation. Did you reorganize my bathroom? She demanded, standing in the doorway of his home office where he was reviewing contracts. He didn't look up. I optimized it. You organized my skincare by size. By size, Ethan. It's more aesthetically pleasing. It's insane. They're supposed to be organized by routine order. Cleanser, toner, serum, moisturizer. That seems unnecessarily complicated. She wanted to throw something at his perfectly styled head. You can't just reorganize other people's things. Finally, he looked up, and the amusement in his eyes made her even more furious. Technically, as your husband, what's yours is mine, including bathroom counter space. We have separate bathrooms. You keep leaving your products in mine, because his bathroom had better lighting for makeup. Not that she'd admit that. I'm going to reorganize your ties. His expression shifted to genuine alarm. You wouldn't. By pattern. No, wait. By fabric weight. Or maybe randomly, just to watch you suffer. Ava, who organizes ties by color anyway? What kind of monster? She didn't get to finish because he was suddenly standing, rounding the desk with predatory grace. She backed up instinctively until she hit the doorframe. Let's make a deal, he said, stopping inches away. You stay out of my closet. I'll stay out of your bathroom. You started this, and I'm ending it. His voice dropped. Unless you want to continue this argument in a more interesting way. Her pulse jumped. You're insufferable. You're beautiful when you're angry. That's such a cliché line. Doesn't make it less true. He traced a finger down her cheek, and she hated how she leaned into the touch. Has anyone ever told you that you scrunch your nose when you're plotting revenge? I do not scrunch. You absolutely scrunch. He tapped her nose gently. It's adorable. I'm not adorable. I'm terrifying. Terrifyingly adorable. Before she could formulate a scathing response, his phone rang. He sighed, stepping back to answer it, and Ava fled to her room before she did something stupid like kiss him. That evening, Ethan came home to find his pristine kitchen transformed into what looked like a war zone. Flour dusted every surface. Mixing bowls occupied the counter, and Ava stood in the middle of it all, wearing one of his dress shirts over her jeans, hair piled on top of her head, concentrating fiercely on something in the oven. What happened here? He asked carefully. She jumped, spinning around. You're home early. It's 7, I'm actually late. He looked around the disaster area that was once his kitchen. Are you cooking? Baking? There's a difference. She wiped flour on his shirt. Cookies, I stress bake. What are you stressed about? Living with a man who alphabetizes his spice rack. Despite himself, Ethan smiled. That's perfectly normal. It's perfectly insane. But she was smiling too. The cookies should be done in 5 minutes if you can handle the mess that long without having an aneurysm. He should be annoyed. His kitchen was destroyed. That shirt was custom made. There was flour in places flour should never be. Instead, he found himself fascinated by the streak of chocolate on her cheek, the way she'd rolled up the sleeves of his shirt, the domestic chaos that made his sterile apartment feel alive for the first time. "Need help cleaning up?" he offered. Her eyebrows shot up. "You? Volunteer for manual labor? Are you feeling okay?" "I contain multitudes, Henderson. It's Carter now, remember?" The words came out softer than intended. "Right. Mrs. Carter." He moved to the sink, rolling up his own sleeves. "What kind of cookies?" "Chocolate chip. I stress baked chocolate chip cookies. It's my thing." They worked in companionable silence, falling into an easy rhythm. He washed, she dried. Their shoulders brushed. Their hands touched when passing dishes. Each contact felt deliberate despite being accidental. "Can I ask you something?" Ava said eventually. "Shoot. Why is your apartment so empty? No photos, no personal items. It's like you don't actually live here." Ethan paused, hands still in the soapy water. "I never saw the point. It's just a place to sleep between work." "That's sad. That's efficient." "Ethan." She turned to face him fully. "When's the last time you did something just because it made you happy? Not because it was productive or efficient, but just because." He couldn't remember. Work had consumed him for so long that everything else felt like wasted time. The timer beeped. Ava grabbed oven mitts, pulling out a tray of perfect golden brown cookies. The smell alone made his mouth water. "These need to cool," she said, setting them on the counter. "But we can test one. Quality control." She broke a cookie in half, handing him one piece. It was still warm, the chocolate melted and gooey. He took a bite and nearly groaned. "Good?" she asked, watching him with those bright eyes. "Incredible. Where did you learn to bake like this?" "My grandmother. She said cookies could fix anything." Ava took a bite of her own half. "Bad day, broken heart, existential crisis. Cookies are the answer." "What are you fixing with these?" She met his gaze. "The mistake of marrying a control freak who organizes his life like a spreadsheet." "I'm not that bad." "You have a calendar for your calendar. That's called being organized. That's called being terrified of spontaneity." But she was smiling. "When's the last time you did something completely unplanned?" "I married you." The words hung between them. True, unexpected, weighted with meaning neither was ready to explore. "That doesn't count," Ava said finally. "We were drunk." "Were we?" He stepped closer. "Or was that just an excuse to do what we'd been wanting to do for years? Ethan, tell me you haven't thought about it. About us. Tell me all those arguments weren't just foreplay." She couldn't. They both knew it. "This is fake," she whispered. "Is it?" He tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear. "Because it doesn't feel fake when you steal my shirts, when you reorganize my kitchen and make it smell like home, when you look at me like you're looking at me right now." "How am I looking at you?" "Like you want me to kiss you." Her breath caught. "We have rules." "Screw the rules." But he didn't kiss her. Instead, he pulled back, leaving her swaying toward him, wanting. "Get some sleep," he said, his voice rough. "We have that charity gala tomorrow. Need to present the happy couple." Then he left, walking away while every instinct screamed at him to stay, to finish what they'd started, to stop pretending this was anything but real. In her room, Ava touched her lips, imagining the kiss that didn't happen. This was dangerous. This was supposed to be temporary. But nothing about the way she felt when Ethan looked at her felt temporary at all. The next morning she found a note on the kitchen counter next to the remaining cookies. "Scrunching is definitely adorable. Thanks for making this place feel less like a hotel. E." Ava read it 3 times before carefully folding it and tucking it in her pocket. She was in so much trouble. The charity gala was held at the Grand Sinclair Hotel, one of Ethan's properties, naturally. Ava stood in front of her closet, second-guessing every dress option. "Need help?" Ethan's voice came from her doorway. She turned to find him already dressed in a perfectly tailored tuxedo that should be illegal. The bow tie, the sharp lines of the jacket emphasizing his shoulders, the way his hair was styled just messy enough to look effortlessly perfect. It wasn't fair. "I can't decide what to wear," she admitted. His eyes traveled over the dresses she'd laid out on the bed. "The emerald one. That's the most revealing." "Exactly." He stepped into the room, picking up the silk dress. "You'll be stunning, and every man there will know you're mine." The possessiveness in his voice sent heat through her. "We're pretending, remember?" Doesn't mean I want other men looking at you. He handed her the dress. Wear this, please. 20 minutes later, Ava emerged from the bathroom to find Ethan pacing her bedroom. How do I look? She asked. He turned, and the expression on his face made every second of wrestling with the zipper worth it. The emerald silk clung to her curves, the neckline dipping just low enough to be elegant rather than scandalous, the slit showing a dangerous amount of leg. You look... He cleared his throat. We should go. Before I forget we're in public tonight. In the car, his hand found hers, fingers intertwining naturally. She told herself it was practice. He was probably thinking the same thing. Nervous? He asked. Should I be? My mother will be there, my grandmother, several business associates who've known me since I was in college. He squeezed her hand. They're going to ask questions. Let them. We have our story. Right. The story. But he didn't sound convinced. The hotel ballroom was transformed into an elegant wonderland. Crystal chandeliers, white flowers everywhere, champagne flowing freely. The moment they entered, heads turned. Here we go, Ethan murmured, his hand moving to the small of her back. The touch burned through the thin silk. Ava plastered on a smile as they navigated the crowd, greeting people she'd never met who acted like they knew everything about her sudden marriage. Ethan, darling. A woman in her 60s swept toward them, elegant in silver silk. And this must be your bride. Mother. Ethan kissed her cheek. This is Ava. Ava, my mother. Patricia Carter. Patricia studied Ava with sharp eyes that missed nothing. The girl who finally caught my son. I was beginning to think he'd marry his business planner. I'm very organized, Ethan said defensively. You're very boring, Patricia corrected, but her smile was warm. Until now, apparently. Married in Las Vegas? You, the man who schedules his leisure time? When you know, Ava said, channeling confidence she didn't feel. Patricia's gaze moved between them. And when did you know? Ava felt Ethan tense beside her. This was the moment. Make or break. About 8 years ago, she said honestly. I just didn't want to admit it. Something flickered in Patricia's expression. Understanding, perhaps approval. Well, at least you're honest. She squeezed Ava's hand. Welcome to the family, dear. You'll need patience and wine. Lots of wine. As Patricia glided away, Ethan leaned close. 8 years ago? You said be convincing. That was convincing. That was true. Before she could respond, a server offered champagne. Ava gratefully accepted, needing something to do with her hands. The evening progressed in a blur of introductions. Business partners congratulated Ethan with knowing smiles. Society wives pulled Ava aside for gossip disguised as friendly advice. Through it all, Ethan never strayed far, his hand always finding hers, his body always angled protectively. You're very good at this, she murmured during a brief moment alone. At what? Playing the devoted husband. His jaw tightened. Who says I'm playing? A photographer appeared before she could answer. Mr. and Mrs. Carter, a photo for the society pages. Ethan pulled her close, his arm around her waist, fingers splayed possessively against the silk. She leaned into him, her hand on his chest, feeling his heart racing under her palm. Closer, the photographer directed. Like you actually like each other. Ethan's laugh was genuine. Not a problem. He pulled her flush against him, both arms around her now, and pressed his lips to her temple. The kiss lingered, warm and soft, and Ava forgot they had an audience. The camera flashed. The photographer thanked them and moved on, but Ethan didn't let go. Your heart's racing, she whispered. So is yours. They swayed slightly to the orchestra music, not quite dancing, but not quite still. His hand traced slow patterns on her lower back. Her fingers curled into his lapel. Ethan, dance with me. It wasn't a question. He led her to the dance floor, pulling her into proper position. One hand held hers, the other settled on her waist. They moved together easily, naturally, like they'd done this 1,000 times. You're a good dancer, she said, surprised. Boarding school requirement. You? Cotillion classes. My mother insisted. They smiled at the shared experience of wealthy childhoods. As the song continued, the space between them gradually disappeared. His hand moved higher on her back. Her head found his shoulder. They stopped talking, just swaying, breathing each other in. "There's a man at 3 o'clock who hasn't stopped staring at you," Ethan said suddenly, his voice tight. Ava glanced over. Tall, handsome, watching her with obvious interest. "Should I be flattered?" "You should be mine." The words came out harsher than intended. Ava pulled back enough to see his face, found something fierce and possessive there. "Ethan." "I know. Fake. Temporary." He spun her, pulling her back against him. "Doesn't mean I have to like other men looking at you like that." "Like what?" "Like they're picturing you without that dress." Heat flooded through her. "And what are you picturing?" His eyes darkened. "Things that would get us arrested in several states." She laughed, breathless and dizzy. "We're in public. Then we should probably stop before I forget that." But he didn't step away. Instead, he leaned down, lips brushing her ear. "You're killing me in this dress." "Good. Ava." Her name was a warning, a plea, a promise. The song ended. Applause rippled through the ballroom. They stood frozen, neither willing to move first. "Mr. Carter." An assistant approached apologetically. "The auction is about to start. They need you for the opening remarks." Reality crashed back. Ethan stepped away, the cool air rushing between them, shocking after so much heat. "I'll be right back," he promised. Ava watched him walk toward the stage, her body still humming from his proximity. This was getting out of hand. Every touch, every look, every moment made it harder to remember. This wasn't real. "He looks at you like you hung the moon," a voice said beside her. Ava turned to find an elderly woman in diamonds smiling knowingly. "We're newlyweds," Ava said automatically. "Darling, I've been married 53 years. I know what real looks like." The woman patted her hand. "That boy is head over heels. Question is, are you?" Before Ava could answer, before she could even process the question, Ethan's voice filled the ballroom. She looked up to find him on stage, confident and commanding, thanking everyone for attending. His eyes found hers across the room. He smiled, soft and private, just for her. And Ava realized with terrifying clarity she wasn't pretending anymore. Maybe she never had been. Ava needed a document from Ethan's office, something about quarterly reports that her father had requested. She'd texted Ethan, but he hadn't responded, probably in another marathon meeting. She knocked on his bedroom door. No answer. Assuming he was out for his morning run, she pushed the door open. The room was as meticulously organized as expected, bed made with military precision, everything in its place. She crossed to his desk, rifling through the organized stacks. That's when she heard the bathroom door open. She turned instinctively. Time stopped. Ethan stood completely naked, water droplets trailing down his body, a towel in hand that he'd been bringing to his hair. His muscles were even more defined than she'd imagined, and she'd imagined plenty. Broad shoulders tapered to a narrow waist, abs that looked carved from marble, powerful thighs, and her eyes snapped back to his face, which registered shock mirroring her own. Neither moved. Heat flooded through her, pooling low in her belly. She knew she should look away, should leave, should do anything other than stand there cataloguing every perfect inch of him, but her body refused to cooperate. His eyes darkened as he watched her watching him. He didn't rush to cover himself, didn't move at all. There was something in his expression. Heat, challenge, raw want. Finally, with deliberate slowness, he wrapped the towel around his waist. The movement drew her attention to the sharp V of his hips, the trail of dark hair leading. "See something you like, Henderson?" His voice was rough. She forced her eyes to his face, her cheeks burning. "I was looking for a file." "Sure you were. Your door was unlocked, and you just walked in." "I knocked." He stalked toward her, predatory and confident. Water still glistened on his chest. She couldn't stop staring at a drop sliding down his sternum, over his abs, disappearing into the towel. "My eyes are up here," he said, amused. "I know where your eyes are." But she couldn't seem to look at them. He stopped inches away, close enough that she could feel the heat radiating from his still damp skin, smell the clean scent of his soap. With one finger under her chin, he tilted her face up, forcing her to meet his gaze. The intensity there stole her breath. "Tell me to go get dressed," he said quietly. "You should get dressed." "That's not the same as telling me to." "Ethan." His thumb traced her jawline, slow and deliberate. Her pulse jumped under his touch. She watched his eyes track the movement, darken further. "You're playing with fire," she managed. "Maybe I want to get burned." He leaned in, his face so close to hers that their breath mingled. Her eyes fluttered closed, waiting, wanting. His phone rang from the nightstand, loud, insistent, shattering the moment. Ethan cursed under his breath, pressing his forehead to hers for one heartbeat before stepping back. "I have to take this." She nodded, not trusting her voice. "Ava." He caught her hand as she turned to leave. "We need to talk about this." "About what? Your inability to lock doors?" His smile was slow, dangerous. "About the way you looked at me just now. About what you want. About what I want. What do you want?" The phone rang again. He released her hand reluctantly. Everything. She fled. That evening, Ava deliberately stayed in her room, trying to process what happened. She'd seen Ethan Carter naked, had memorized every detail, was currently reliving it in vivid detail. This was bad. This was very, very bad. A knock on her door made her jump. "Ava, can we talk?" Ethan's voice, carefully neutral. She opened the door to find him dressed in joggers and a t-shirt, hair still damp from another shower. Safe, covered, still unfairly attractive. "About this morning," he started. "Doesn't need to be discussed." "I think it does. You were naked. I was shocked. End of story." His lips twitched. "Shocked? Is that what we're calling it? What would you call it?" "Interested." "Very interested." He stepped into her room, closing the door behind him. "Come on, Ava, we're adults. We can admit there's attraction here. Attraction that we're not acting on." "Why not?" The question hung between them. "Because this is temporary," she said finally. "Because it's fake. Because getting involved for real would complicate everything. It's already complicated." He moved closer. "And I'm starting to think temporary is just an excuse we're hiding behind. Ethan, I can't stop thinking about you." The admission came out raw, honest. "The way you reorganize my kitchen and make it smell like cookies, the way you steal my shirts, the way you argue with me about everything. This morning when you looked at me like, don't. Like you wanted me as badly as I want you." Her resolve was crumbling. "This is a bad idea." "Probably." He cupped her face with both hands. "Tell me you don't feel this. Tell me I'm imagining it." She couldn't, they both knew it. "We have rules," she whispered. "Screw the rules." His thumb stroked her cheek. "I'm tired of pretending this doesn't mean anything. It can't mean anything. Too late." He kissed her forehead, soft and tender, then her temple, her cheekbone, the corner of her mouth. Each kiss deliberate, giving her time to pull away. She didn't. When his lips finally met hers, it was nothing like the drunken kiss in Vegas. This was slow, thorough, devastating. He kissed her like he had all the time in the world, like learning the taste of her was the only thing that mattered. Ava melted against him, hands fisting in his shirt, pulling him closer. He groaned against her mouth, the sound vibrating through her. His tongue traced her bottom lip, seeking entrance, and she opened for him eagerly. The kiss deepened. His hand slid into her hair, angling her head for better access. She arched into him, feeling the hard planes of his body against her softer curves. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, his eyes were nearly black with desire. "Still think this is fake?" he asked roughly. Before she could answer, her phone rang, her father's ringtone. Reality crashed back. Ethan stepped away, running a hand through his hair. "You should get that." "Ethan?" "Later. We'll talk later." He left before she could stop him. Ava answered the call in a daze, barely processing her father's words about a family dinner he was planning. Her lips still tingled. Her heart still raced. Everything had just changed, and she had no idea what to do about it. Ava couldn't sleep. The kiss replayed in her mind on an endless loop. The way Ethan had held her face, the tenderness mixed with hunger, the way her entire body had come alive under his touch. She needed air. The penthouse terrace was her favorite spot. Ethan had given her the code without her even asking. The city sparkled below, peaceful at 2 in the morning. She didn't hear him approach until he spoke. Couldn't sleep either. Ethan stood in the doorway, barefoot in flannel pants and a t-shirt, holding 2 mugs. The domestic sight of him made her chest ache. Too much on my mind, she admitted. He handed her a mug. Hot chocolate, made from scratch, just the way she'd taught him. The gesture was so thoughtful it nearly undid her. They stood side by side, sipping in comfortable silence. His shoulder brushed hers. Neither moved away. "I'm sorry about earlier," he said finally. "I shouldn't have pushed." "You didn't. I wanted—" She stopped, unsure how to finish. "Wanted what?" "The same thing you did." His breath caught. "Ava. But I'm scared." The admission tumbled out. "This started as damage control, a temporary fix. If we make it real and it doesn't work, I lose you. I lose your friendship with my brothers. Everything gets complicated. It's already complicated." He set his mug down, turning to face her fully. "And for the record, you wouldn't lose me. Ever. You can't promise that. Watch me." He took her mug, setting it aside too, then pulled her close. Not kissing, just holding. "I've wanted you for 8 years. 8 years of pretending I didn't notice when you walked into a room. Of arguing with you because it was the only acceptable way to get your attention. Of watching you date other guys and wanting to punch something. You never said anything. You were my best friend's little sister. There were rules. And now?" His smile was rueful. "Now we're married. Funny how that changes things." She laughed despite herself, resting her forehead against his chest. His heart beat steady under her ear, a comforting rhythm. "What are we doing, Ethan? Honestly? I have no idea, but I know I don't want to stop." Neither did she. That was the terrifying part. They stayed like that, wrapped in each other under the stars, until the cold drove them inside. The next morning, Ava was working from home when her phone rang. Marcus, her best friend. "I need gossip," he announced without preamble. "How's married life?" "Complicated." "Good complicated or bad complicated?" I kissed him. For real this time. Marcus's shriek nearly deafened her. "Finally. Tell me everything. Was it good?" "Of course it was good. That man looks like he knows his way around." "Marcus!" Sorry, details. Now." Ava told him everything. The bathroom incident, the almost kiss, the actual kiss. Marcus listened with increasingly dramatic gasps. "Babe, you're in love with him." "I am not." "You reorganized his kitchen. You bake him cookies. You wear his shirts. You're domesticating the man." "That doesn't mean—" "It absolutely means. Question is, what are you going to do about it?" Ava didn't have an answer. After hanging up, she wandered to Ethan's office looking for distraction. He was at a meeting, had told her to help herself to his files if she needed anything for work. A folder on his desk caught her eye. Millennium Acquisition, confidential. She shouldn't look. It was private business, but the date caught her attention. The same week they'd been in Vegas. Curiosity won. She opened the folder. The documents inside made her stomach drop. Ethan had been in Las Vegas negotiating the acquisition of the Millennium Hotel Group, a massive deal worth hundreds of millions, the kind of deal that required absolute discretion, impeccable timing, and zero scandals. The kind of deal that a drunken wedding video could completely destroy. She kept reading. Notes from investors who valued family stability and traditional values. Clauses about maintaining public image. A timeline that required the deal to close within 6 months, their 6-month marriage timeline. The pieces clicked into place with sickening clarity. The door opened. Ethan walked in, stopping short when he saw her holding the folder. "Ava, were you ever going to tell me?" Her voice shook. "About this deal? About why our fake marriage needs to last exactly long enough for your acquisition to close?" His expression shifted from surprise to guilt. "It's not like that." "Then what is it like?" "Because from where I'm standing it looks like you're using our marriage, using me, to close a business deal. That's not fair." "Fair?" She laughed bitterly. "You want to talk about fair? I've been feeling guilty about lying to my family. Guilty about this farce. And all along you had a financial incentive to keep me playing house?" "The deal was already in progress when Vegas happened," Ethan said carefully. "Yes, the scandal could have jeopardized it. Yes, staying married helps maintain the image investors want. But that's not why Not why you what? Kissed me. Told me you've wanted me for 8 years." She threw the folder on his desk. "How much of it was real, Ethan? Any of it? All of it?" His voice rose, frustration bleeding through. "The deal is separate from us. From what I feel, I don't believe you." The words hung between them like a death sentence. Ethan's jaw clenched. "Then I guess we have nothing more to say." "I guess not." She walked out, heartbreaking with every step. Behind her, she heard something crash, probably his perfectly organized desk being swept clean. Good. Let him feel a fraction of what she was feeling. In her room, Ava called Marcus back. "I need to get out of here. Can I stay with you for a few days?" "What happened?" "I'll explain when I get there. I can't be here right now." She packed a bag with shaking hands, tears blurring her vision. How had everything fallen apart so quickly? 20 minutes later, she was at the door, suitcase in hand, when Ethan appeared. "Don't go." His voice was raw. "Please, let me explain." "There's nothing to explain. This was always business for you." "That's not true." "Isn't it?" She met his eyes, saw the desperation there, and hated how much she still wanted to believe him. "You know what the worst part is? I was falling for you. Actually falling. And it was all just part of your strategy. Ava, goodbye, Ethan." She left before he could respond, before she could change her mind, before her traitorous heart could convince her to stay. The elevator doors closed on his devastated expression, and Ava wondered if she'd just made the biggest mistake of her life. Marcus's apartment was smaller than Ethan's penthouse, cluttered with actual personality, and smelled like takeout and coffee. Exactly what Ava needed. "So let me get this straight," Marcus said, handing her wine. "He's been in love with you for 8 years, finally admits it, kisses you like it's the end of the world, but also has a business deal that benefits from staying married. And you ran because you think the deal is more important than you. When you say it like that, it sounds stupid." "Babe, it is stupid." Marcus sat beside her on the couch. "Did he say the deal was why he married you?" "No, but did he say the deal was why he kissed you?" "No." "Did he, at any point, indicate that his feelings were fake?" Ava groaned. "You're supposed to be on my side." "I am on your side, which is why I'm telling you that running away from a man who looks at you like you're his entire world is idiotic." Her phone buzzed. Another text from Ethan. She'd ignored the first 20. "Please talk to me. I can explain everything." "I miss you." Her heart clenched. "Text him back," Marcus urged. "I can't. Not yet." She needed time to think, to process, to figure out if she was overreacting or protecting herself. The buzzer rang. Marcus went to check the intercom, then turned back with wide eyes. "It's your grandmother-in-law." "What?" "Patricia Carter is in my lobby asking to come up. Should I be terrified?" Ava's stomach dropped. "Let her up." 2 minutes later, Patricia swept into the apartment like she owned it, elegant in a cream pantsuit, carrying a designer handbag and an expression that brooked no nonsense. "Ava, dear, we need to talk." Marcus grabbed his coat. "I'll just go anywhere else." Once they were alone, Patricia settled on the couch, patting the space beside her. Ava sat reluctantly. "My son is miserable," Patricia began without preamble. "He's been pacing his apartment like a caged animal, calling every hour asking if I've heard from you and looking generally pathetic. He lied to me." "Did he?" Patricia's eyebrow arched. "Or did he simply not mention a business deal that was already in motion before he married you?" "It's the same thing." "Is it? Let me ask you something. If there was no business deal, would you believe his feelings are real?" Ava hesitated. "I don't know." "Then the business deal isn't the real problem, is it? You're scared, and I don't blame you. Love is terrifying, especially when it's with someone you've known for years, someone whose loss would devastate you." Tears pricked Ava's eyes. "What if it doesn't work? What if it does?" Patricia took her hand. "I've watched my son with many women over the years. Professional dates, perfectly suitable matches his father arranged. He was never happy, never engaged, never himself. But with you, he's alive. He argues and laughs and gets that ridiculous smile when you walk into a room." "He has a ridiculous smile?" "Absolutely ridiculous. Very un-CEO-like." Patricia's expression softened. "The business deal matters to him, yes. But you matter more. The question is whether you're brave enough to let yourself believe that." After Patricia left, Ava sat alone with her thoughts, and her phone full of increasingly desperate messages from Ethan. Maybe she'd been unfair. Maybe she'd let fear drive her away from something real. Maybe it was time to go home. Ethan was on his terrace when she returned 3 days later, staring at the city like it held answers. He didn't hear her approach until she spoke. "I'm sorry." He spun around, eyes widening. "Ava, I overreacted. You had business in Vegas before we got married. The deal existing doesn't mean your feelings are fake." He crossed to her in 3 strides. "I should have told you. The moment I realized the marriage helped the acquisition, I should have been honest." "Why weren't you?" "Because I was afraid you'd think exactly what you did think, that you were convenient instead of everything." The rawness in his voice undid her. "Your mother came to see me." "She what?" "Gave me a lecture on being brave, on not letting fear ruin something good." Ava stepped closer. "She's right. I was scared. This started as a mistake, and somewhere along the way it became the best decision I've ever made. That terrified me." "Ava, I'm not done. The bathroom incident, I've memorized every detail. Your shirts? They smell like you and I sleep better in them. The cookies? I make them because seeing you happy makes me happy. I'm not pretending anymore, Ethan. I haven't been for weeks." He cupped her face with both hands, thumbs stroking her cheeks. "I love you. The business deal closes next month regardless of our marriage status. I told the investors the truth about Vegas, about the drunken chapel and Elvis and everything. If they walk, they walk. You're more important." "You did what?" "I'm not losing you over a hotel acquisition. You're not a business strategy, Ava. You're everything." She kissed him, poured 8 years of tension, 3 days of misery, and a lifetime of hope into it. He responded instantly, pulling her close, kissing her like he'd been starving for it. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, she smiled. "For the record, you have a ridiculous smile when I walk into rooms." "Your mother told you that?" "I find it charming. I find you everything." He kissed her forehead, her nose, her lips again. "Stay, please. No more running. No more secrets. No more secrets." They stood wrapped in each other as the sun set over the city, and Ava finally felt like she'd come home. "You know what this means," Ethan murmured against her hair. "What?" "We have to tell your family the truth, all of it," Ava groaned. "Can we wait a week? We've been lying for 3 months. Another week won't hurt." But fate, as usual, had other plans. Because the next evening, her brother showed up at the penthouse with evidence from social media, a conspiracy theory spreadsheet, and absolutely no intention of leaving until he got answers. The truth was coming out whether they were ready or not. Ava's youngest brother, 24-year-old Ryan, sat in Ethan's living room with his laptop open, looking far too pleased with himself. "I knew something was off," he announced, turning the screen to show a detailed timeline of their Vegas trip. "Look, this Instagram story shows you both drunk at a casino at midnight. This one shows the chapel at 1 a.m., but your official story claims it was a romantic planned ceremony." Ethan and Ava exchanged looks. "Ryan," Ethan started carefully, "what are you doing here?" "Proving my conspiracy theory, which I'm now 90% sure is correct." He pulled up another tab. "Also, your assistant James, super chatty after 2 beers. Mentioned something about maintaining appearances and damage control." "James is fired," Ethan muttered. "James is getting a raise for being honest," Ryan corrected. "So, want to tell me the truth? Or should I present my findings at Sunday dinner with the whole family?" Ava dropped onto the couch. "We're so screwed." "Completely," Ethan agreed, sitting beside her. Ryan's eyes lit up. "So I'm right? It was a drunken mistake?" "It was Vegas," Ava said. "We were drunk. There was an Elvis impersonator, and yes, we panicked when it went viral and decided to pretend it was intentional." "I knew it," Ryan pumped his fist. "I knew you two didn't just suddenly fall in love. You've been doing that annoying sexual tension thing for years." "We have not." "You absolutely have, everyone knows. Tyler and Nolan have a bet on when you'd finally hook up." Ethan's head snapped up. "They what?" "Tyler said before 30. Nolan said after you both got desperate enough to use a dating app. I said drunken Vegas mistake, looks like I win." Ava stared at her brother. "Our families knew." "That you're crazy about each other, obviously. That you got drunk married?" "No, that's new information." Ryan leaned back, grinning. "So what's the plan? Quick divorce? Annulment?" "Neither," Ethan said firmly, taking Ava's hand. "We're staying married." "But you just said it was a mistake." "It started as a mistake," Ava corrected. "But we're making it real. We love each other." Ryan's expression shifted from triumph to confusion to something softer. Wait, seriously? You're actually in love? Completely, Ethan confirmed. Disgustingly so, Ava added. Huh. Ryan closed his laptop. Did not see that coming. I mean, the sexual tension, yes, but actual feelings? You two are usually terrible at emotions. Thanks for the vote of confidence, Ava said dryly. So you're telling the family the truth? We were planning to, Ethan said, just on our own timeline. Ryan considered this. I could keep quiet for a price. You're blackmailing us? I'm negotiating. There's a difference. He grinned. I want to be the one to tell Tyler and Nolan. The look on their faces will be priceless. Absolutely not. Then I'm calling Dad right now. Ava grabbed a throw pillow, launching it at her brother's head. You're the worst. I'm the best and you know it. Ryan dodged easily. Come on, let me have this. I won the bet. I deserve the glory of revealing the truth. What bet? A new voice asked. All three turned to find Ethan's grandmother standing in the doorway, having apparently let herself in with the spare key Ethan didn't remember giving her. Grandmother, Ethan stood quickly. This is unexpected. I'm old. I can be unexpected whenever I want. She settled into the best chair like a queen on her throne. Now what's this about a bet and the truth? Ryan, the traitor, immediately spilled everything. The drunken wedding, the viral video, the fake marriage arrangement, the business deal, the falling in love part. When he finished, Grandmother Carter sat in silence for a long moment. Then she started laughing. Not polite chuckles, full from the belly laughter that had her wiping tears from her eyes. Oh, this is magnificent, she gasped. Better than my stories. And I eloped with your grandfather to spite my parents. You did? Ethan asked, startled. Different era, darling. My point is, love finds you in unexpected ways. She looked at Ava and Ethan with warm eyes. You two have been dancing around each other for years. A drunken Vegas wedding is just expedited honesty. So you're not mad? Ava asked. Mad? I'm delighted, though I am insisting on a proper reception. And you need to tell the family before Ryan ruins it with his dramatic flair. Hey, you were going to make a PowerPoint presentation, weren't you? Ryan's guilty expression confirmed it. Sunday dinner, Grandmother decided. You'll tell everyone then. I'll bring wine, you'll need it. After she left, taking Ryan with her, Ava turned to Ethan. Your grandmother is terrifying. Completely, but she's right. We need to come clean. Sunday dinner is in 2 days. Then we have 2 days to prepare for chaos. He pulled her into his arms. Together. Together. They had no idea how chaotic Sunday dinner would actually be, but at least they'd face it as a team, a real team, not a fake marriage, not a business arrangement, just two people who'd found love in the most ridiculous way possible and decided to keep it. Sunday dinner at Ava's parents' house was always an event. This time, it felt like walking into an execution. The dining room was packed. Ava's parents, her 3 brothers, Ethan's mother, Patricia, Grandmother Carter, Marcus, who'd somehow gotten invited, and James the assistant, who'd shown up with a notebook claiming he needed to document this for posterity. This feels like an intervention, Ava whispered to Ethan as they took their seats. Because it probably is, he whispered back, squeezing her hand under the table. Ryan was practically vibrating with suppressed glee. Grandmother Carter sipped wine with a knowing smile. Marcus had his phone ready, clearly planning to record the chaos. Ava's father cleared his throat. Before we eat, Ethan, Ava, we'd like to discuss your hasty marriage. Here we go, Ethan muttered. Ava took a deep breath. Actually, Dad, we need to tell you something. About Vegas. Tyler, her oldest brother, leaned forward. This should be good. It wasn't planned, Ava began. We were both there separately, ran into each other at the casino, had too much tequila, and got married by an Elvis impersonator in a tacky chapel. Ryan finished gleefully. They woke up married and panicked. The silence was deafening. Then Ava's mother started laughing. Not polite laughter, full, shocked, slightly hysterical laughter. You got drunk married? Tyler asked, incredulous. Completely wasted, Ethan confirmed. There's a video. Elvis called us baby a lot. Nolan, the middle brother, started laughing too. So the whole whirlwind romance story. Complete fabrication, Ava admitted. We panicked when it went viral. Decided to fake it until we could figure out a quiet exit strategy. Her father's expression was unreadable. You've been lying to us for 3 months. Yes, Ethan said firmly, and I take full responsibility. It was my idea to maintain the charade. Actually, Ava corrected, it was James's idea. All eyes turned to the assistant, who raised his hand cheerfully. Guilty, but in my defense, it was a brilliant plan. James, Ethan hissed. What? It worked, didn't it? Grandmother Carter refilled her wineglass. Get to the good part. Tell them why you're still married. Ava and Ethan exchanged glances. Because somewhere between the fake marriage and the real living together, Ava said softly, we fell in love. For real. Finally, Tyler shouted, making everyone jump. Nolan, you owe me $500. Wait, what? Ethan asked. Nolan pulled out his wallet, grumbling. We had a bet on when you two would get together. I said you'd both need therapy first. We all knew, Ava's mother said, smiling now. The tension between you two has been obvious for years. We were just waiting for you to figure it out. Though drunk Vegas wasn't on my bingo card, her father added. He stood, walking around the table to Ethan. Stand up. Ethan stood nervously. Ava held her breath. Her father clapped a hand on Ethan's shoulder, hard enough to make him wince. You're an idiot, but you're our idiot now. Hurt my daughter and I'll destroy you, business empire or not. Understood, sir. Good. Now sit down and eat. This food is getting cold. Just like that, the tension broke. Everyone started talking at once. Ryan pulled out his phone to show the conspiracy theory spreadsheet he'd made. Marcus was already composing social media posts. James was furiously taking notes. Grandmother Carter tapped her wineglass. I have questions. Oh no, Ethan muttered. Are you two actually sleeping together or maintaining separate bedrooms like Victorian aristocrats? Grandmother, Patricia gasped. What? They're married. It's a valid question. Ava's face burned. We have separate rooms. Why? Grandmother asked, genuinely baffled. You're in love. You're married. What's the problem? Can we not discuss this at dinner? Ethan pleaded. I'm 82. I can discuss whatever I want. She turned to Ava's mother. Talk some sense into them. Young people today, afraid of everything. The evening devolved into beautiful chaos. Her brothers demanded embarrassing stories. Patricia wanted to plan a real reception. James suggested writing a book about the experience. Marcus started a betting pool on when they'd have their first child, which made both Ava and Ethan choke on their wine. Through it all, Ethan kept his hand in hers, occasionally squeezing when the interrogation got too intense. When Grandmother Carter made particularly inappropriate suggestions about their intimate life, he'd lean close and whisper things that made her laugh despite her embarrassment. As dinner wound down, Ava's father pulled them aside. I meant what I said. Your family, Ethan. You always have been. The Vegas thing is just expedited honesty. He smiled. Your grandmother said the same thing, didn't she? Word for word, Ethan confirmed. Smart woman. Listen to her. He looked at Ava. You happy, sweetheart? Completely. Then that's all that matters. He hugged them both. But next time you want to get married, maybe give us a heads up. Your mother's been planning your wedding since you were 5. Later, in the car heading home, Ava collapsed against Ethan's shoulder. That went better than expected, she said. Your grandmother wants us to prove we're actually intimate. She's 82 and has no filter. She's terrifying. But he was smiling. Though she has a point. Ava's heart raced. About what? We're married. We're in love. We're still tiptoeing around each other like we're afraid to break something. Maybe we are. He pulled the car into the building's garage, turned off the engine, and faced her. What if we stopped being afraid? The question hung between them, weighted with possibility. Ethan, he kissed her, slow and deep and full of promise. When he pulled back, his eyes were dark with want. Come to bed with me tonight, he said. Not separate rooms, not pretending, just us. Her breath caught. You're sure? I've never been more sure of anything. He traced her jaw with his thumb. But only if you want to. She did. God, she did. Take me home, she whispered. And for the first time since Vegas, it felt like they were finally on the same page. They made it to the apartment barely. The elevator ride was torture, standing inches apart, the air thick with anticipation. Ethan's hand rested on her lower back, burning through the fabric of her dress. Inside the penthouse, he turned to her. "Do you want wine?" Or, "I don't want wine." His eyes darkened. "What do you want?" "You. I want you." He closed the distance between them, framing her face with both hands. "We don't have to rush this. We've been not rushing for 8 years. Fair point." He kissed her softly. "But I need you to be sure. Because once we do this, everything changes." It already changed. In Vegas, maybe even before that. She pulled him closer. "I'm sure, Ethan. I've been sure since that night on the terrace when you made me hot chocolate." "That's when you knew?" "That's when I stopped lying to myself about it." She smiled. "What about you?" "The cookies," he admitted. "When you destroyed my kitchen making cookies and looked so happy doing it, that's when I knew I wanted this chaos for the rest of my life." Her heart melted. "That's incredibly romantic for someone who organizes his ties by color. I contain multitudes, remember?" He kissed her again, deeper this time, walking her backward toward his bedroom. Last chance to back out. Not happening. But when they reached his room, Ethan paused, stepped back, took a shaky breath. "What's wrong?" Ava asked, suddenly uncertain. "Nothing. Everything's right. That's the problem." He ran a hand through his hair. "I want this to be perfect for you. And I'm terrified I'll mess it up." The vulnerability in his voice undid her. This powerful CEO, reduced to nervous uncertainty because he cared so much about getting it right. "Ethan." She took his hands. "It's already perfect because it's us. You don't have to be perfect, you just have to be here with me. I've thought about this moment for years, imagined it 1,000 different ways. And none of them come close to how I actually feel right now." He kissed her forehead. "Scared, excited, completely overwhelmed by how much I love you." Tears pricked her eyes. "I love you too." They stood there, foreheads touching, just breathing each other in. No rush, no urgency. Just the two of them, finally on the precipice of everything they'd been denying. "Stay with me tonight," he murmured. "Even if we just sleep, I want to wake up with you." "Just sleep." His smile was rueful. "I didn't say I wanted to just sleep. I said even if." "There's a difference." She laughed, some of the nervous tension breaking. "You're overthinking this." "I'm always overthinking. It's my brand." "Then let me think for both of us." She reached up, undoing the first button of his shirt. "I want you. You want me. We love each other. Everything else is details." He caught her hand, bringing it to his lips. "You're sure? Because once we cross this line, I've been crossing lines with you since Vegas. This is just the most honest one yet." That decided it. He kissed her like he was drowning and she was air, backing her toward the bed with purpose now, the hesitation finally breaking. But then his phone rang. Loud, shrill, absolutely terrible timing. They froze, looked at each other, started laughing. "You have got to be kidding me," Ethan said. "Answer it," Ava managed between giggles. "The universe clearly doesn't want us to rush." He checked the screen and groaned. "It's my lawyer. About the Millennium deal." "Answer it. Ava, answer it. The deal's important. I'll still be here when you're done." He kissed her once, hard and promising, then stepped into the hallway to take the call. Ava sat on the edge of his bed, her heart still racing, trying to process what almost happened. What was going to happen? Maybe not tonight, but soon. She was ready. More than ready. She wanted Ethan Carter with an intensity that should probably concern her. When he returned 15 minutes later, his expression was odd. "What's wrong?" she asked immediately. "Nothing's wrong. Everything's actually perfect." He sat beside her. "The deal closed early. The investors signed off this afternoon. It's done." "That's wonderful. It means our marriage timeline doesn't matter anymore. For the business, at least." He took her hand. "We could get divorced tomorrow, and it wouldn't impact anything." Her stomach dropped. "Is that what you want?" "God, no. That's the opposite of what I want." He turned to face her fully. "I want you to know that staying married is my choice. Not because of business, not because of our families, not because of any external pressure. Just because I can't imagine my life without you in it." "Ethan, I'm not asking for an answer tonight. I just needed you to know The deal is done. The farce can end, but I don't want it to end. I want this to be real, forever real. Tears spilled over. You're proposing? Again? I'm telling you that when I'm ready to propose properly, with a ring that's not from a Vegas gift shop and a plan that doesn't involve Elvis, I will. But for now, I'm just asking you to keep being my wife. My real wife. She kissed him, pouring everything she felt into it. When they broke apart, she whispered, yes. Yes to what? All of it. The real marriage. The future. Forever. She smiled through tears. Though I'm keeping the Vegas ring. It's ridiculous and perfect. He laughed, pulling her close. You're ridiculous and perfect. They lay back on his bed, wrapped in each other, and for the first time since Vegas, everything felt settled. No more lies, no more confusion, no more fear. Just them. Finally, honestly, completely them. Stay, he murmured, already half asleep. Always, she promised. And as they drifted off, still fully clothed, too exhausted from emotional honesty to do anything but hold each other, Ava knew that when they finally did make love, it would be worth the wait. Some things were worth savoring, and Ethan Carter was definitely worth savoring. Ava woke wrapped in Ethan's arms, sunlight streaming through the windows. They were still fully dressed from last night, but something had shifted. The last barriers between them had finally fallen. Ethan stirred, his eyes opening to find her watching him. Morning, wife. Morning, husband. She traced his jawline. We fell asleep. We did. His hand slid up her back. Regrets? Only that we're both wearing too many clothes. Heat flared in his eyes. That can be remedied. This time, no phones interrupted, no interruptions. Just them. Ethan kissed her slowly, thoroughly, like they had all the time in the world. His hands explored carefully, reverently, learning every curve. When he pulled back to look at her, the love in his expression made her breath catch. You're beautiful, he murmured. I've wanted to tell you that for years. Then stop talking and show me. He did. Every touch was deliberate, worshipful. He mapped her body with his hands and lips, committing every response to memory. When she arched beneath him, his name a plea on her lips, he smiled against her skin. Patience, he whispered. I've waited 8 years for this. I'm taking my time. Ethan, shh, let me love you properly. And he did, with a tenderness that brought tears to her eyes, with a passion that set her on fire, with a devotion that made her feel cherished beyond measure. When they finally came together, it was perfect, not because it was flawless, but because it was them. Awkward laughter when they bumped noses, whispered confessions, shared vulnerability. I love you, he said, moving slowly, watching her face. God, Ava, I love you so much. Show me, she whispered back, pulling him closer. Show me. And he did, over and over, until they collapsed together, hearts racing, bodies tangled, completely undone. Afterward, Ethan held her close, pressing kisses to her forehead, her temple, her shoulder. Stay, he murmured. Always. Always, she promised, already falling asleep in his arms. They spent the weekend in bed, learning each other, laughing, loving. Ethan proved surprisingly playful, tickling her until she squealed, stealing kisses at random moments, looking at her like she was the only thing that mattered. I could get used to this, Ava said Sunday morning, sprawled across his chest. Good, because I'm never letting you go back to the guest room. What will we do with all that space? Convert it to a nursery. He said it casually, but she felt his heart race. She lifted her head. Are you asking? Not yet, but someday, if you want. I want everything with you. He kissed her softly. Then you'll have it. Monday morning they actually had to leave the apartment. Work couldn't be ignored forever, but now everything was different, better. Marcus called during her lunch break. So, did you finally? Yes, Ava interrupted, and I'm not giving you details. You're glowing through the phone. I can hear it. She was glowing. She couldn't stop smiling. That evening, Ethan came home with flowers and that ridiculous grin his mother mentioned. I have a question. Another one? When can we tell people we're staying married for real? Because I want to shout it from every rooftop. You're a CEO. You don't shout from rooftops. For you, I'd make an exception. She laughed, pulling him close. We can tell everyone, but first, I want one more night with just us. No family chaos, no questions. Just us. I can work with that. They ordered takeout, watched terrible movies, made love on the couch, and fell asleep tangled together. It was perfect, not because it was dramatic or fancy, but because it was them. Messy, honest, completely in love. And Ava knew with absolute certainty that Vegas wasn't a mistake. It was the beginning of everything she'd ever wanted. The penthouse didn't look like a sterile hotel anymore. Books scattered across tables, photos covered the walls. Ava's organizational chaos mixed with Ethan's need for order, creating a perfectly imperfect home. "You're doing it again," Ava called from the nursery doorway. Ethan looked up from where he was alphabetizing baby books. "Doing what?" "Organizing things that don't need organizing. The baby won't care if Dr. Seuss comes before Beatrix Potter. Our baby will appreciate structure. Our baby will appreciate having a father who isn't obsessive-compulsive." He crossed to her, hands settling on her very pregnant belly. 7 months, and she was radiant. "Our baby will have the best of both worlds, your chaos and my organization. Poor kid doesn't stand a chance." The baby kicked, and Ethan's face lit up with wonder. It happened every time, that amazed expression, like he couldn't believe this was real. "Have I told you today that I love you?" he asked. "Only 3 times, you're slacking." He kissed her soft and sweet. "I love you. Better." The doorbell rang. Marcus, arriving with shopping bags and unsolicited advice. James with his ever-present notebook. Grandmother Carter with inappropriate questions about their intimate life. Sunday dinners had become weekly chaos. Both families crammed into their apartment, arguing about baby names, making bets on gender, planning elaborate futures for a child not yet born. Ryan had a spreadsheet tracking potential godparent candidates. Tyler and Nolan were building a crib in the spare room, arguing about instructions. Patricia was knitting tiny sweaters. Ava's mother had already bought enough clothes for triplets. Through it all, Ethan stayed close to Ava, protective and devoted, making sure she was comfortable, fed, happy. "You're hovering," she told him. "You're pregnant with my child. I'm allowed to hover. I'm pregnant, not fragile. You're precious. There's a difference." Marcus made gagging sounds. "You two are disgustingly cute," says the man planning the baby shower, Ava countered. "Someone has to do it properly. Left to you two, it would be organized chaos." "That's our brand," Ethan said, pulling Ava closer. Later, after everyone left and the apartment was blissfully quiet, Ethan led Ava to the terrace, the same spot where they'd shared hot chocolate, where he'd held her while she cried, where so many important moments had happened. "I have something for you," he said. "Ethan, you just bought me a new car because you decided my old one wasn't safe enough." "This is different." He pulled out a small box, and her heart stopped. "We're already married," she said, laughing through sudden tears. With a Vegas ring from a gift shop, he opened the box, revealing a stunning diamond. "I wanted to do this properly, ask you properly. You don't have to. Ava Henderson Carter, will you marry me? Again? For real this time? With a ceremony where we're sober and our families are present and there's no Elvis? But I liked Elvis. Ava. Yes, you ridiculous man. I'll marry you again." He slid the ring on her finger beside the Vegas band. "You're keeping that one?" "Always. It's where we started." He kissed her, tender and loving and full of promise. The baby kicked between them and they both laughed. "Our kid has timing," Ava said. "Our kid has personality already. God help us." They stood wrapped in each other as the city sparkled below, and Ava thought about that drunken night in Vegas. The panic, the chaos, the desperate plan to fake a marriage. Best mistake she'd ever made. "I love you," Ethan murmured against her hair. "Both of you. We love you too." And as they stood there, planning a future full of chaos and love and everything in between, Ava knew that some stories don't start with a plan. They start with tequila, terrible decisions, and Elvis. And sometimes those are the best stories of all. Leave your comment and share this story with someone special. It truly helps us keep bringing new stories to you. And if you want to follow every chapter of this emotional journey, subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell. Your support makes all the difference.